From the land of lakes, this is 10,000 Takes, brought to you by Minnesota Score Radio. Wally and Eric back for yet another week as we slice and dice the always busy, always topical, super saturated Minnesota sports scene. And Wally, we're heading into the Thanksgiving holiday weekend, and there's certainly a lot of sports for us to get into. And we're going to venture down a couple of different roads this week.
Yeah, well, the first one is something that, has been on the front burner. At least PJ Fleck put it on the front burner. NIL money. Where in the world is the University of Minnesota going to go for their NIL money? Name, image, and likeness money for those who are unfamiliar with it. And basically what it is money from sponsors to pay athletes. And Gopher football coach PJ Fleck says that without, ponying up, without getting that money from, some of these bigger corporations that are vested in our community, in the Twin Cities area, in Minnesota, that you're not going to be able to keep top players. Now, Bucky Irving's a great example of that, a running back that left the University of Minnesota and is doing well out in Oregon, one of the top teams in the country. So he makes a good point. However, whose job is it to go and get those, big bucks? Is it? I'd say in part it's PJ Fleck's job.
You're totally right. And I would say this.
It might not be what he signed up for, but it's the reality of the situation.
Rumor has it he's getting, $10 million a year? If you have to have extra job duties in your role, so be it. And everybody at the NCAA D1 level is now playing by these rules. And there are schools that don't like it, like Minnesota, and there are schools that embrace it, like Ohio State, Michigan, Texas, Alabama, whoever.
Probably Oregon.
No doubt, the University of Nike. But I'll say this about Minnesota, and I think I may be in the minority here after talking to a lot of people about this. There's Fortune 500 companies in the Twin Cities. Right. There are a lot of them. And then you have a lot of money in certain communities. I mean, look at the Lake Minnetonka area, for goodness sakes. So I don't know why you can't get those folks to pony up. Now, I'm told they're not interested in Golden Gopher football or Gopher hoops. And they're spending their money maybe on Vikings advertising or Timberwolves or Twins or Wild or whatever. And that's probably true. This is a competitive sports market. We know that.
No doubt.
The pie is sliced very thin. But I still think that's a crutch. I mean, if you can't get on board with NIL, you might want to leave the Big Ten.
Ooh. Because
it's not going to get any better. It is the Wild West right now. You should be able to go out and convince somebody, a CEO or someone, that it is in your best interest to be part of the U of M as we grow and get better. I think it's possible. Easy? No. But Mark Coyle, PJ, Ben Johnson, Don Pleasenwhite, the president of the U of M, they all got to get together, have a powwow, and figure it out.
Yeah, and I think you can throw Bob Motzko into that group too,
yes,
because the men's hockey program is they're competing for players as well. St. Cloud State and Mankato and Duluth and then just over the border, North Dakota. I mean, there's
Michigan hockey, Boston College.
Absolutely. Right down the road. Wisconsin, for that matter. Yeah. Wisconsin's been stealing our basketball players forever. They'd probably take some hockey players, too, if you don't want to pay them. So that's the reality of college sports these days. You have to be able to pay the players, and that's what it is. I mean, it's in a kind of a convoluted way, this NIL. In other words, the sponsor gets to use the player's name, image, or likeness and to sell cars or boats or whatever it is, and then that player gets paid. Okay, well, there's people that are making big money. Paige Beckers, who's from Hopkins, playing her college basketball out at UConn, she's probably making more money now as a college basketball player than she will make in the WNBA when she turns pro.
I don't think there's any doubt. Caitlin Clark down at Iowa, their superstar.
Same deal.
Women's basketball player. She's in the $1 million range already for NIL. I mean, Nike and Buick are just are just three of the endorsements she has with NIL. So, and Iowa City, we'll throw Des Moines even into the mix, the state capital. There's not as much money there as there is in the Twin Cities.
No
now,
question.
Maybe there aren't any pro teams, but look, you got to figure it out. Because when I first got to Minnesota, the excuse was, well, the Gophers can't win. There's too many other pro teams in the market. True, but hey, the Washington Huskies are pretty good. And let's see, you got the Kraken, you got the Mariners, you got the Seahawks, the Sounders. They'll someday have an NBA team back. USC wins in sports-saturated LA. Come on. These are excuses. You got to find a way to fight through it.
Yeah, and right now, they're not getting that money, and they're going to have to find a way, as you said, to get through it. And if Coyle and P.J. Fleck and Ben Johnson and anybody else can't do it, you're going to have to hire people that will.
Right. I'm not going to pin this all on PJ because those names you mentioned also have to be on
Absolutely.
board. And your AD has to be a tone setter. But this should be in PJ's wheelhouse. He's a pretty good recruiter.
He's a salesman.
I don't know if he's a game day coach, but he can recruit. He's a carnival barker. This should be what he's good at. Getting in the room with a CEO, the people on the board, and getting them to pay the Gophers. Yeah. I think he should embrace it.
Yeah. Well, we'll see. Speaking of getting paid, the Timberwolves have been paying their dues the last couple of years, and now they're winning basketball games.
Yeah. Are they going to take the next step? We'll find out. Troy Hudson and ex-T-Wolf will join us here on 10K Takes, your name, image, and likeness ticket.
In Lakeville, Minnesota, dozens of meeting venues are ready to host your next corporate event, banquet, and holiday party. Lakeville has unique conference facilities, a variety of hotels, an abundance of team-building options, and dining that are sure to impress. For suggestions that suit your needs, please call the Lakeville Convention and Visitors Bureau at 952-469-2020 or go to visitlakeville.org. Lakeville, we mean business.
The excitement is real at Fond du Lac Casino. With over 650 slots to play, there's always something going on right in the heart of downtown Duluth. Come in to enjoy 2 floors of entertainment where you'll find some of the hottest new games along with a number of the old favorites. Play at your comfort level, all the way up to high stakes where the payouts can be huge. Relax in a comfortable atmosphere and maybe get a beverage while you gather and have fun with your friends. Open 7 days a week so you can
have a great time out at Fond du Lac.
I've been meaning to give you these for many years. I think they're perfect.
Maya?
Oh, I love your earring. Why didn't you try these?
It isn't just about vision. It's about care. Nobody cares for eyes more than Pearl.
And 10,000 Takes bounces along, this time talking some hoops. Minnesota Timberwolves off to a great start this year. And joining us now is a guy who played that point guard position back in the day, that run that they made back in the 2004 season. KG, Sam Cassell, Latrell Sprewell. They had a squad, and they had a guy named Troy Hudson who was injured as they went into the postseason run. But Troy joins us now. Troy, thanks for joining us. When you look at this 2023-2024 Minnesota Timberwolves squad, what impresses you the most?
Well, you know, if anybody who follows me on social media, I had made a post earlier in the year before the season started that, to me, this is the most talented Timberwolves team in history. When you consider 1 through 12, I don't see any, drop offs in talent. And I think that's what makes them so good is their depth. I think that they can go 1 through 12 with anybody in the NBA. So to me, this is probably the most talented. Now, I get a lot of flack for saying that. I never said the best team because I feel like we were the best team. But they have an opportunity to be the best team with the talent that they have.
Yeah, I saw that back and forth you had with Latrell Sprewell because he was going to stop you in your tracks with that comment, right?
Yes, he was. And I had to let him know I said most talented. I didn't say the best team because, we had a core of guys that, we had a brotherhood, a liking to each other that, we were going to sacrifice our individual accolades. And our leader, Kevin Garnett, he was a guy that did that anyway throughout his career. So we had a leader that kind of just led us along as being, a selfless group of guys. So it was tough to be a better team than us, but like I had to clear that up with Latrell and say, you know what, I said most talented, not better team.
The process. We've seen the Timberwolves, Troy, the last couple of years get in via the play-in, but then it's one and done. They lose to Memphis. They lose to Denver. The Nuggets eventually won the title. And you hear that phrase a lot, that sometimes you have to lose along the way before you win big. Is Minnesota now ready to do that? They've been together for a while. Chris Finch has been here for a while. Do they have the cohesion? Are they ready to make a playoff run?
I believe so. I think that team, when you look at that team, and you think about just the makeup, the build of the team, it reminds me a lot of when I was here. Finch reminds me so much of Flip Saunders, like his demeanor, the way he goes about things. He's a player's coach. He reminds me so much of Flip Saunders, and I think they have that brotherhood happening. And like you said, over the last few years, they've been making those little baby steps. Like you said, the play in, getting in there. They had guys like Patrick Beverly that, helped them understand what it took to win and the effort that it would take to win. And then they brought along a guy by the name of Mike Conley, who I've always been a great fan of. I think he's just a consummate professional. He knows what it takes to win. And he's that point guard that I think, keeps everything together because he's so selfless. He doesn't care about scoring, but he can score when you need him to score. He's one of those guys that I think is a glue guy for guys like Anthony Edwards and Cat. He's one of those guys I believe that's going to be a very influential in this run.
And no disservice to D'Angelo Russell because he's talented in his own way, but Conley's just a better fit, right?
Conley's definitely a better fit. I was a fan of D'Angelo Russell, but I'm a fan of D'Angelo Russell as a two guard. He's a guy that he can get you buckets, or if he would be a point guard, coming off the bench and just being that spark plug that can get you 19 to 20 points. But I think, a guy like Mike Conley, his whole career, he's just been selfless. He's all about the W, and he's not about himself in no manner. And I think that's who you need, being at that point guard spot when you got guys like Cat, who's a scorer, and Anthony Edwards, who's a scorer. You need a guy who can just come in and kind of facilitate that.
Can we now call Ant a legitimate superstar, a guy who might play in 9 or 10 All-Star games, assuming he stays healthy in his career?
Oh, definitely. And I think he's a potential most valuable player. I think he'll have a nod at that before it's all said and done. I think he'll get some votes this year as a most valuable player. And the reason why the kid just plays with joy. And that's what we don't see a lot in the NBA today, is someone who just loves to play basketball. He just doesn't care about anything but just competing and playing basketball, always has a smile on his face. You see so many guys in today's game that comes to the arena with, a frown and something's always going on and they're always upset. He's just a kid in the park. He just loves to play the game. He loves to compete, and he does it at a high level.
And he plays every day. He wants to play every day. I don't see him taking one of those load management days unless they force him to. Am I wrong?
No, exactly. Like I said, he just loves to play the game. I mean, it's not about it's about no one will play for free, but you have those guys that say I will do this game for free. He's one of those guys that would potentially do it if he wasn't getting paid. He just loves to play the game.
And Troy, the other huge key, in my opinion, is they not only are playing defense, but they're embracing it. And you can't stack up championship trophies in the NBA unless you can stop the other guy.
Oh, definitely. Like I said, that reminds me of our time, in 2004, where we just really embraced it. Like I said, we had Kevin Garnett, who that was his calling card, was to play on both ends of the court. And I think they have that DNA right now, especially with a guy like Rudy Gobert in the back. Anthony Edwards, who can score anytime he wants, but he's embracing both ends of the court. And I think that's bringing Cat along. It was just so long. You had, McDaniels coming in, Nas Reed coming in. Those guys are long and athletic. It's going to be tough to score on us.
So we went about 7 minutes into this interview before Karl Anthony Towns came up. However, I think that one of the keys has got to be him and Rudy Gobert, their ability to play at the same time on the floor. And it looks like it's better this year. Would you agree with that, or break that down for me?
I would definitely agree. I see them doing a lot of 4 out, 1 in, and allowing Cat to really roam around the perimeter, which he's very good at. I mean, he's talented. A lot of people want him to post up a lot more, but the way the game is being played in today's game, I like the fact that he's out on the perimeter a lot more because it opens the lane up for guys like Edwards to slash and kick out to shooters. And I think that's what they're going to have to do. They're going to have to play the 4 out, 1 in. And I've seen them even do pick and rolls with Cat and Gobert, which is interesting because it works. I think Gobert, although he's your big man, he's still a mobile guy. Even at his size, he's still a mobile guy. He can set the pick and flash to the rim, and Cat's able to deliver passes. And I like the dynamic with those two out there on the court. A lot of people didn't like it. I've always been a fan of it from the onset. It didn't look well at times last year, but at the same time, Cat wasn't healthy most of the year, so we didn't get a heavy dose of it and allow them to really build that chemistry. But I think you're starting to see it work this year.
You know, Troy, when things aren't going well, Minneapolis is the North Pole of the NBA. Nobody wants to come here. But going back to those pinnacle years in the early 2000s, when the T-Wolves are winning and Target Center is full, this can be a market where basketball is as fun as anywhere around the NBA. Am I right?
I think it's a great market. And I think the players who come here and play, when they're here extended time, 2 to 3 years, they realize, like, oh, I love this market. This is a really cool place to be, a cool place to play. Coming into it, you're not so sure because all you're thinking about is the snow. But once you get here, like you said, once it's rocking, this is the place to be. It's fans like no other. They just want to see us win. You know, it's been tough over the last few years, but I think right now we're headed back into that era of 2004.
All right, one last question for you. Does this team have the makeup of a championship caliber team? How far do you think this team can go? Sky the limit? Your thought?
Definitely, sky's the limit. And I think they're coming along even faster than I thought they would. I think this year they could be conference finalists. They could be playing a Golden State or a Denver. In this conference, I think it's all about who you match up with throughout the playoffs. Anybody can beat anybody. It's just about matchups. I think we match up well against Denver, even better than anybody else because we have so many long bodies. We have McDaniels, who's 6'10", 6'9", 6'10", Naz Reid, almost 7 foot, Cat close to 7 foot, Rudy over 7 foot, Kyle Anderson, 6'7", wingman point guard. I think we have the length to match up with the defending champions. And to me, I think they're the only ones standing in our way. I'm a huge Golden State fan, but Golden State is one of those teams that have to be red hot throughout the playoffs in order to get back to the finals. Denver is one of those teams that can just beat you down because of their length and their abilities. And I think we match up well against the best team in the league.
Well, Troy, we appreciate you spending some time with us. Hopefully you're right. Hopefully this will be a long run for the Timberwolves this year, and we'll see some of that 2004, 2005 magic. Appreciate it.
All right, no problem.
Thanks, Troy.
All right,
All right, he is Troy Hudson, former Timberwolves point guard, joining us right here on 10,000 Takes. Back with more after this timeout. Stay with us.
I've been meaning to give you these for many years.
I think they're perfect. Maya?
Oh, I love your earring. Why didn't you try these?
It isn't just about vision, it's about care. Nobody cares for eyes more than Pearl.
Finding the ideal place to stay is important for business travelers. Lakeville, Minnesota is conveniently located off I-35, just south of the Twin Cities, with a variety of hotel choices. Lakeville offers convenient amenities such as shopping, walking trails, golf, and more. Our unique meeting spaces, historic downtown, live music, and over 60 dining options are sure to impress. Book your next stay in Lakeville and experience convenience, comfort, and quality. Find your perfect hotel at visitlakeville.org.
10,000 takes, and as we head feet first into this holiday season, I thought we would dive into some things that we might be thankful for in the world of sports, Minnesota sports in particular. So I'll let you start first. What do you got?
All right, well, I'm going to give thanks for Huntington Bank Stadium. Now, the team that plays inside that venue, the Gophers, football, not a lot to cheer about this season, but it is a wonderful venue. I went to a number of games there this year, and it's a pure football stadium. I love it. No roof, but they do have a rug. So when you get that $60 million check next year from the bloated Big Ten, take some of that money, get rid of the rug, and put in natural grass and heat it and all that stuff like they do in Green Bay.
Okay, very good. All right, I will stay with Gopher football. How's that?
Okay.
I am thankful that your Gopher football team will not finish in last place in the Big Ten West. Thank goodness for Purdue. Wait a minute. Purdue beat the Gophers. Look, they didn't beat Purdue, but they will not finish in last place. And I am thankful for that because it could be worse. It might be worse next year because you have USC and UCLA added to the mix, and then the following year they'll play both Washington and Oregon. Did you see, oh, by the way, both Washington and Oregon are top 6 teams in the country, along with Michigan and Ohio State?
Yeah. Powerhouses.
Yes.
All right, well, I'm thankful that the Minnesota Twins finally won a playoff game and then a playoff series. And boy, was it a lot of fun to be at trendy Target Field against Toronto and Houston. Now, they didn't go the distance, and that's the goal here, folks. I hope the Twins can build on what they started in 2023, but I'm a little skeptical. I'm hearing that payroll is going to shrink. I'm not sure that's going to equate into a World Series run, but maybe I'll be proven wrong.
Okay. I am thankful that the powers that be that run U.S. Bank Stadium are going to put up this multi-million dollar fence around it so that it'll keep all the riffraff out of the stadium. Yes, they're going to spend already $50 million. Now they added, another $25 million to that. So they're going to spend $75 million of taxpayers' money to keep people out of the People's Stadium. A security fence, not much different than what they have maybe around the Kremlin or Fort Knox. We got U.S. Bank Stadium, and I am thankful for that big old fence that they're going to drag in and put up on your dime.
What about bird-proof glass? They just don't care.
No, they don't, do they? All right. Now we will do our takes of the day. No, we'll do that next segment. Stay with us. Takes of the day coming up next.
The excitement is real at Fond du Lac Casino. With over 650 spots to play, there's always something going on right in the heart of downtown Duluth. Come in to enjoy 2 floors of entertainment where you'll find some of the hottest new games along with a number of the old favorites. Play at your comfort level all the way up to high stakes where the payouts can be huge. Relax in a comfortable atmosphere and maybe get a beverage while you gather and have fun with your friends. Open 7 days a week so you can
have a great time out at Fond du Lac.
I've been meaning to give you these for many years.
I think they're perfect. Maya?
Oh, I love your earrings. Why didn't you try these?
It isn't just about vision, it's about care. Nobody cares for eyes more than Pearl.
10K takes on television as we wrap up yet another episode. put that pumpkin pie and whipped cream aside here. We'll be done in a minute. But takes of the day. We're going to find out. Does this holiday season, now that it's officially kicked off?
It has.
Although I think in the marketing world, it started right after Halloween. But does this make you a happy camper, a giddy guardian, or are you a grumpy guardian, a demanding diva? What are you?
By the way, the Christmas music that started right around Halloween on some of these radio stations, yuck. A little too early for me, man. Talk about Scrooge.
Yeah, he's here. The Grinch is in the house.
The Grinch is in the house. All right. So back the Vikings' last home game prior to this coming Monday night game against the Chicago Bears. That was back on November 12th when they played host to the New Orleans Saints. So I take the light rail in. I get off the choo-choo to walk up to U.S. Bank Stadium, and lo and behold, on this sunny 54-degree day in mid-November, and those big pivoting doors were shut. Yes, the Vikings had decided, or the U.S. Bank Stadium folks decided, we can't have them open on this given day. So if you're not going to open them on a day when it's 54 degrees in the middle of November, when exactly will you have those open? They're supposed to give you a feel for being outside. We'll shut those things so you have to go indoors. It is indoor football after all, so you may as well never have those open. As a matter of fact, you may just as well shut those things permanently if you're not going to have them open on a 54-degree day in the middle of November. So then you get inside, and of course they do the stupid fake snowflakes that are made out of soap to make you think you're outside, which you aren't, and they even have the doors shut. And then, of course, they crank up the noise. Yep, we got to have those tunes blasting your ears, blasting your eardrums. Guy that sits next to me every week at U.S. Bank Stadium, he has earplugs that he brings with him, and he has them in the entire game. Probably not a bad idea. Now, I will say this, at least it's not like a paper bag you got to wear over your head like if you're going to a Gopher football game. They're earplugs so that you can actually survive another game inside of U.S. Bank Stadium. The Vikings have played well. They've given us plenty to cheer about. I don't mind the natural noise. I don't mind stuff, that is grassroots, the fans cheering. But to crank up that music constantly and to have the PA announcer that got the voice of God that they have doing the PA blasting my eardrum from opening kickoff till the time I walk out of the building, yuck. Cut it out, turn down the noise, and oh, by the way, you better go get some earplugs.
Let's see what the mood meter says. Oh, he's right in the middle, demanding diva, just as I thought.
Yes.
Yeah, and the idea of artificial snow flurries might be the worst marketing idea in the history of sports.
It's really dumb.
Yeah. Okay, well, my take of the day, I'm going to talk about a guy who once upon a time played for the Minnesota Twins. That was a long time ago, many decades ago. He just got named manager of the Los Angeles Angels, Ron Washington. He was in Atlanta as the third base coach. Used to be the manager of the Texas Rangers and took them to 2 World Series. He's basically a guy who's been around baseball his whole life. And I'm glad he's getting another opportunity, this time out in Orange County with the Angels. And one of the guys he beat out for the job was Buck Showalter. And Buck even texted Wash after he got hired and said, I'm happy for you. This took way too long. Yeah. You should have gotten another opportunity. So good for the Angels and bringing on Ron Washington. Now, it's going to be a mammoth job for Ron Washington because the Angels they can't get it right. They spend the money. They've got Mike Trout. They had Shohei. I don't know if he's coming back. But maybe he can instill that culture that is missing out there in Orange County with the Angels. So I'm happy that Ron Washington has another gig in Major League Baseball. And on that note, let's FedEx out those thank yous. One to Alex Yambrick, David Weld, Paul Langfellow, Rocky, Troy Hudson. For Wally, I'm Eric saying so long. This is 10K Takes, your sports ticket.